Hello guys, welcome to Secure Sphere Network. In this section of the class, I'm going to be taking you on how to install and configure FreeIPA on CentOS 8 machine. In this lesson, I'm going to be using Vagrant to provision it. Vagrant is going to serve as my infrastructure as code, alternative of Terraform. But I'm going to be using Vagrant to provision the servers. So in this lesson, I'm going to be working with 3 servers. One server we're going to be serving as the FreeIPA server, while the other 2 will be serving as the FreeIPA client. First step is going to be installing FreeIPA installation and configuration. Second, I'm going to be taking on the FreeIPA installation, FreeIPA client installation and configuration. Third, I'm going to be taking on FreeIPA user administration and management. Again, I'm going to be looking at multi-factor authentication for secure login. I am adding this GitHub repository to my video description. Please, you can go and watch the 4th section of the video and understand how to implement the environment. Here is my VirtualBox manager. There is no virtual machine yet in it. Now I'm going to be using Vagrant. So here is my Vagrant script. I'm going to be a little bit explaining what this Vagrant script is doing here. So here I have the environmental variables for which I use in configuring my Vagrant server. The Vagrant box I'm using is CentOS 8 and the version is 2011.0. So here I'm going to be using for FreeIPA server, I'm going to be using 2 CPU, while the client nodes I'm going to be using 1 CPU. When looking at this memory, I'm going to be using for FreeIPA memory, I'm using 2 GB, and for client is just 1 GB. So here I'm going to be provisioning 2 Vagrant. I have a Vagrant script which I call bootstrap.sh. It's going to bootstrap into the server and then install some configuration that I place in there. Right, so during the time of provisioning Vagrant, we ensure that we have a full qualified domain name. This is mandatory. So this is the IP address of this FreeIPA server. Coming on to the nodes. So the nodes, I'm having the client 1.sh secure sphere network.sec and client 2 secure sphere network, and these are the IP addresses respectively. So please, I would like you to sit tight and then watch as I provision this right now. So I'm going to go to my command line. So if you don't know how to go to my command line through VS Code, so here I'll right click here and go to the section and say open an integrated terminal. So here on the integrated terminal, I now can be able to run Vagrant. So, Vagrant up. So if I run Vagrant up, so the system will start provisioning the Vagrant immediately. So in this section, you can see that right now the Vagrant nodes are being provisioned. You can see that we have 3 servers now that's going to be provisioning immediately. So the FreeIPA now is being imported and the FreeIPA is now provisioning. So it's going to take a little time for it to complete the deployment. So you can see it has started already provisioning. Now if I open my VirtualBox now, you can see that these have already been provisioned. You can see FreeIPA have already been provisioned. But before it starts starting, and it's going to take a little time for it to complete the installation. You can see. So I'm going to pause the video until, okay guys, you can see that we have completed the installation, provisioning of the instance. Now look at this from the beginning. Alright, so we provisioned the FreeIPA server, and this is the client 1 in provision, and this is the client 2 in provision as well. Now if we go to our Oracle VirtualBox manager, you see the 3 instance provision also. Alright, so the next thing is now for us really to log into the FreeIPA server. So how do we get to see the Vagrant state? So we check all the servers that have been provisioned, right, by running Vagrant states. Right, so the Vagrant states will list all the servers that have been provisioned. Alright, so you can see that we have the Vagrant the FreeIPA and two other clients running, and they are all running in the VirtualBox. So the next thing right now is that we need to log in to the server, FreeIPA server. How do we do that? Type what? Vagrant SSH. Then we can appear the server that we want to log in with. So when we first press that, we'll be able to log into the server at the moment. Alright, so we can see that we are inside the server now. So we can run some couple of commands for confirming all what we have configured. And running host name CTL. So host name CTL will show us the full qualified domain name, and then we'll check also the time date CTL. So the time date CTL, we've seen that here in African Lagos, so it's all. So the next thing I'm going to do is let me switch to user, root user, running this command. Then I'll switch into root user. So what I'm going to be doing now, let me cut the host file to see the host. So you can see that the instance, the full qualified domain name of all the client machines, including the FreeIPA server, is also added to the host server. So these are the prerequisites that you need to confirm before you start the installation of FreeIPA server. Having done that, so the next thing is to go into the script that I prepared for FreeIPA's installation. That is the FreeIPA server installation. So we have already confirmed some other things. So the next thing we are going to do is that we are going to run this command, right, to download all the modules that are required for us. So these modules now we're going to install will help us to get the FreeIPA server. Alright, so we're done with this. So the next thing is to now run the installation of the FreeIPA server. So now in installing of FreeIPA, so we are going to run FreeIPA server. Remember that the full meaning of IPA is Identity Policy Audit. Identity Policy Audit server. So Identity Policy Audit server DNS. So these are the two applications that we need to install for us to have the IPA server ready. So I'm going to be installing it right now. So it's going to take a couple of time to complete the installation. You can see that we have about 287 libraries that are meant to be downloaded and installed. So I'm going to pause the video till it completes. That's about time. Alright guys, you can see that the installation has completed. So if you scroll down, you can see that it was successful, and a lot of dependencies were installed, and the sum up of what was installed was about 287 libraries were installed. Alright, so now we are done with that. So the next thing we have to do is to configure this FreeIPA. So in configuring the identity policy audit, right, there are things that makes up this identity policy audit. One is the LDAP, and that is Cabris, and then we have the DNS, we have the NTP, right? So we have the SSS. All right, okay, let's go in and then start this installation. Remember that I told you that. So why we are setting up this is that we can do this dynamically. So it will now dynamically set up a DNS server alongside the installation, right? So it will use those configurations that we did on the host, the full qualified domain name that we set up. Is going to use it to run the DNS setup. All right, here you can see that in this installation includes what? The standalone dot tag, right? The dot tag handles the certification manager for us. Then the NTP is for the NTP server that is helping us to configure, make sure that there's time synchronization between the client and the server. The other one is talking about the directory, which is the LDAP, right? That is, LDAP handles the directory for us. Then what about the Kerberos? The Kerberos handles the key distribution center. The key distribution center that's handled by Kerberos. And again, is that we're also going to be having an Apache server, because we're going to be having a web portal. All right, that is a URI, all right, web URI. So where we can really visualize the whole thing instead of using command line. Yes, we can use the command line to run the stuff, but it's well managed using the UI. Then we, like I said, we have the DNS server, which is helping us to bind the connection. So we have the SID and the KDC. Right, so here it's asking us, it's already have detected, the FreeIPA, all right, the FreeIPA secure sphere network full qualified domain name that are configured already. So it's taking it as the host name. Second, is now asking us to setting up the domain name. The domain name now is what? Secure sphere network.sec. So right, it's also going to create a RAM. This RAM configuration is for the Kerberos protocol, right? So it's requiring us to configure a RAM. So it's defining a RAM name from the domain name. So the domain name is now a RAM name. So we have to put the LDAP managed password. So I'm going to be putting my password here. Right. So now that I'm done with the LDAP password configuration, the next is to configure the admin password. The admin portal password for the FreeIPA. Right, so now that I'm done with that, so the next thing is now asking us to, is now taking us to the next section. So let it finish all this section. So after that, it will take us, so here now it's asking us, do you want to configure DNS forwarding? Say yes. So we need to do that. Do you want to configure the server as DNS forwarder? Yes, I need that. So I need this server to be the DNS forwarder. Remember that is multiple server acting as one. So enter an IP address for the DNS forwarder or press enter. So I'm skipping this. So we now say, do you want to search for missing reverse zone? Yes. Yes. All right. So we wait. So please, I would like you to pick out and try all those questions that is going to be asking you. So because you are going to really use it. Alright, denote those points, they are very important. Alright, so we just have to wait. Alright, so the next thing is NetBIOS DNS domain name. So you said, do you want to configure the NTP server? NTP server to serve as NTP server or the pool name? Say yes. So you got to configure it. So enter the NTP server pool name or hit enter. So I'm done with all those things. So these are the configuration. Be careful that you don't hit enter at this point, because if you hit enter, it will take us back to the beginning of the whole configuration, and that's how you keep on looping. If you don't want to do that mistake, press yes and hit enter. So it will start the whole configuration. Right, so after the configuration I have implemented, then we can now go and set the UI password and then log in to the password. Log into the environment. So right now it's configuring the directory. Services serve are about 41 things to complete, so we have to wait. All right, so you can see that we have finally installed uh, the whole thing. So right now, we are going to generate the password. So the password goes this way. We have to type k init admin. So the k init admin will ask us to provide the password for this user, which is the admin user. Right, so now let me go to the this thing and put the full confine domain name. That is http://FreeIPA.secure sphere network.sec. So forget about this, close this, and then put the admin and then the password. So we log in. All right, hope you can see that we are in now to the server. We're inside the server at the moment, so you can see that the CentOS identity management. So here we have the default user which have been created, which is the admin, right? So you can see that we have the host. So the host that we have here now is the FreeIPA server that we just inside. It itself is the host that we have right now. So we have services. These are all the services that we have: the DNS, the HTTP, the doc tag, the IPA, DNS key sync, and the LDAP. So all these are the services. You can see if you want to scroll, you can just scroll and then check all of them one after the other. So that is for the services. So for the group, we have the admin, the editor, the IPA users, and the trust admin. So these are the admins we have. We have the ID and we have the auto members. So actually this is how we install the FreeIPA servers. You can see from the IPA server, we have these roles. So these are the roles. We have the identity, we have the policy, we have the authentication, we have the network services, and we have the IPA service. So now the next section, we're going to be looking at how we can connect these host machines. How do we connect this two host machines to this IPA server? So thank you very much, and stay tuned.